Hello, everyone, and welcome to what is this? Episode 4 of the regular
It's episode
podcast.
4.
Yeah, episode 4. Um, Today we actually have a fairly interesting topic. We're talking about some different conspiracy theories around. The first one that I have here actually is a little close to home for a lot of us, as you can probably read. We are all from Newfoundland. This one here is about something that actually happened out in Labrador, the other part of Newfoundland, the part where nobody goes to. Um, yeah, it's complete barren wasteland. I'll show the Google imaging for those of you who don't
Frozen
know.
barren wasteland.
What do you say?
I said frozen barren wasteland.
Yes, mostly frozen. So this is the eastern seaboard, and here's Newfoundland where we actually live, and the part where we're going to be talking about is up here in Labrador. I'll get to exactly where now in a minute. So, how what it basically goes like is up at an area called Muskrat Falls, which is where a recent dam has been being built. Um, there was recently done a radar survey of the area within the river. And they found something interesting. The image that is on screen here, right? This is what they actually found. Now, it may look like absolutely nothing, because it looks like a complete blurred mess.
Because it is.
Because it basically is. Yeah, it's the underground of the seafloor done by radar imaging. This main thing here in the center is what has a lot of people questioning what this actually could be. You can clearly tell that it is, in fact, some man-made object of some kind. That it's not just, like a patch of sand or rocks on the bottom. So this guy from Rock Solid Politics went on to go about and actually describing what it might be. What he believes that it is actually a German U-boat from the Second World War. The part of that is because around the 70s, there was a guy who was doing surveys up in the Torngat Mountains in the northern part of Labrador. And he
It's a
found...
U-boat anyway.
What?
What is a U-boat anyway?
Basically, it was like the
German submarine.
main submarine that was used by the Germans. It was like what they used to like wreck havoc on the American supply lines, and they were like actually like low underneath the water submarines.
Yeah, were they actually like deep water submarines, or were they just kind of
They
like they couldn't?
they weren't like what you think of a modern day submarine of like being able to completely camouflage, but like they were still they were underneath the water most of the time, and
Okay.
like they couldn't go down to like the depths of the ocean or anything, but they could easily go at least 100 feet underneath the water.
Yeah, that's pretty. That's enough, right? Back in that day.
That's easily enough to hide. And then you shoot a torpedo at someone and they're done.
Yeah, for sure.
So back to this. Up in the top of Labrador, there's a national park called the Torngat Mountains. In the 70s, a guy had gone up there and he saw a weird weather station. He assumed it was something that the Canadian government had put there and just marked it off as something that he saw. Back in 2006, there was a guy who looked through the records, someone who actually worked in the Newfoundland Labrador government, and he quickly realized Canada had not put a weather station up there, and neither had the US, the British, no one they could find. So they sent a few more expeditions up there, and actually they found it, and they found German written all over the thing, and they quickly realized that this was actually a weather station that had been put there in World War II by the German government. And it had been hidden up there for years because it was so isolated and just nobody knew it was there. So there is evidence that the Germans have actually been to Labrador, and like even the German government went through old paperwork and actually found that yeah, that was a mission that had happened. So now, so we're just going to assume that this actually is a German U-boat for now. Okay, it could be a lot of other things, but this guy does go through a fair bit of things of like circling different parts and explaining what part of the U-boat they are. Time estimation was that this happened in 1943. Okay, so my main question of just a topic of discussion. So where the U-boat came in and where it was found. It came in through the harbor that goes into Lake Melville, Now, to put this into perspective, at the time, the town of Happy Valley Goose Bay was not here. The road was not here. There was nothing along this. This was pure wilderness. There might have been a few small towns of the Inuit. I'll blow this up into satellite imaging, just so you can actually see what this place looks like. The actual, whatever it was, managed to get through this river, this shallow river, up through, all the way into Churchill River, past this, and then sank here. So, my main question is, one, how did it get from through all this, and if it got through all that rapidy, horrible water, why did it sink in an area that looks very calm? And two, where were they trying to go and what were they trying to do? If anyone has any input on what they think.
I mean, if it is possible for them to get through there, like they could have easily just like accidentally crashed because of the rapid water and then floated into the calmer area and just sank.
True.
Well,
I
just a
think
little bit
some
of
of it
well, just yeah, of course, and just kind of beyond the exact like mechanical reasoning as to why it sank. Let's think about the fact that just for a little bit of background, Newfoundland and Canada obviously fought Germany in World War II. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So what on earth was a German weather station doing there, and how was a U-boat allowed to get all the way up that river undetected?
Now,
Is it possible that some German intelligence infiltrated Labrador?
Now, to put it into perspective, I'm going to say Labrador was a very different place. It's already abandoned. It was even more desolate then. At the time,
Right,
the
yeah.
only major civilization in all of Labrador was Labrador City, which is way, way far off in the western direction, far away from everything that's been seen. Happy Valley Goose Bay
Right.
was not a town. They wouldn't have encountered anyone along this
That
route.
makes
So they could have actually had an infiltration into Labrador and Newfoundland government, because to put it in perspective, Newfoundland and Labrador was actually controlled by the British at this time. We were not part of Canada at all. So this would have been something that they would have had to go through the actual British compared to Newfoundland or Canada.
So it also could have just been a dumping area for the thing if it was broken.
But like
If it was there.
to get it that far into the river, right? Why wouldn't they have just dumped it in Lake Melville? That's a way easier spot to get to. Middle of nowhere, dump it, done.
I don't know.
yeah.
Uh,
That's it.
Yeah, so I mean, because like one thing that I was thinking is maybe they were trying to actually follow Churchill River farther down into like the rest of Canada and maybe try to get to a larger civilization. But
Right.
Churchill River goes on until Churchill Falls, a town that didn't exist at the time, and then it fractures off into a bunch of very small rivers and goes nowhere.
So they wouldn't have been able to anyway.
No, they wouldn't have actually been able to get anywhere by
Well,
going to
entirely-
the river.
It's entirely possible that they took advantage of the fact that, well, it is still enemy territory, but Labrador is a great big fat slab of land that at the time, and even still today, basically, nobody really has their eye on. So maybe they thought, okay, well, we've got this gigantic river here. We can't see all the way where it goes, but maybe it'll lead us to an advantageous position, since it was probably the easiest place on Earth to try and infiltrate at that point that would potentially be advantageous to them. So they, snuck right on in, thinking maybe that they'd be able to carve out some kind of advantage there.
The main thing is that Labrador was certainly desolate, but the world did know, like, there were maps of what this part
Right.
of the world looked like. So they would have been able to tell that Churchill River, it didn't go anywhere. They would have known that this river stops and then it doesn't go anywhere advantageous at all. So I don't think
good
the
point.
Germans were very interested in exploration at this time when they were literally fighting a two-front war.
Interesting, okay.
Now this is where we're bringing it into modern times. So, other than the fact of why the U-boat was there, but it's whatever. So, when this article came out, it was big into the news of all around Canada, actually, for about 5 days, and then after that, the Newfoundland government had it buried. They told all news stations to take it down, get rid of it, and put it away. That's the part where because if it was just like a boat up there, then I probably would have thought that then they would have sent somebody up there to go actually look at it and see what's going on, but they had it buried like as quickly as they possibly could. My personal thought on why they did this is, so recently this happened just outside the town of what is now Muskrat Falls. And recently, as I'm sure most of you know, there is a dam that is being built there, which is going swimmingly for Newfoundland. And yeah, and so my main thought is maybe they were trying to cover it up because let's say that there was actually a U-boat there or some kind of ship that might interfere with the actual construction of Muskrat Falls. So
That's good.
I believe that would be why they tried to bury it, but I'm not sure. Maybe it would be to help protect Canadian-German relations. I'm not sure.
Yeah, honestly, I think after all those years, it would probably be the type of thing that they would just want to sweep right under the rug. You know, like, no, like, don't stir up anything about this now. It's just a matter of, like, why exactly that was there.
Yeah.
What its purpose was.
So another idea of what this is, because this guy here, he did make some good points on why it actually could be a U-boat. He goes into like what each part of that image could be. Do any of you know of the Franklin expeditions?
No, I don't.
I can't say I do, no.
Okay, basically, back in the early 1800s, there was people from the United Kingdom who were trying to find the Northwest Passage. I'm sure you've all heard the song, but
Yeah.
and basically, they had sent multiple ships up through into northern Canada, like up over Quebec into the Innu area and whatnot, and all their ships sank, right? So another thought is that maybe this is actually another one of Franklin's lost ships, because there was the guy, and he just had a bunch of ships, and he just sent all of them off to try to find the Northwest Passage and get through. So the idea is that maybe at the time, because it wasn't that well mapped out here, that it was one of Franklin's ships who actually was trying to find the Northwest Passage and got stuck in a river and just they were stuck there and drowned.
Wow. That also makes a lot of sense.
It could be, but I think the main part is that the image of it makes it look like it is like a more of a metal ship compared to anything that is wooden or around that time.
Hello, Mike and Meat Nap in the chat.
My man Coser.
My man Crozier Ribbozo. Hello?
Yep.
Yep.
We're good.
I thought I got disconnected for a second.
Does Nick live?
Nick?
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 Uh-oh.
Are we having another fucking technical difficulty? Nick?
Yeah, I think he's gone. I think.
Why does this keep happening?
Hello.
Thank you, everybody,
Hello.
so much
Hello.
for watching.
Hello.
Hello.
Is it working? Okay, Jesus. My mic just decided to completely shut down for half a minute there.
It's like, you were carrying this section, please come back.
Okay. So back onto this entire topic. So where the actual boat is in Muskrat Falls, I'm still very wondering on how the fact. So when submarines, if they get damaged, they're basically sunken immediately, right? They're not like a regular ship where they can take damage and they might like sink later. If a submarine is hit with a rock or something, it's going to sink exactly where it is. So I'm still very interested personally of why it sunk exactly where it did, in a part of the river that looks completely calm and flat, almost like a lake.
You think it's possible it got attacked?
I don't believe it got attacked. I'm almost wondering if they actually abandoned ship.
Oh, that's also possible.
Now,
I mean, that does make sense. If it was anything like a lake, and if they were to abandon ship and try to swim to shore, that would probably be the best place to do it instead of in like the more rapidly moving river.
yeah, exactly. So if like they actually abandon ship here, now my main thought is let's say this is a German U-boat. There's like probably a good 80 people actually like in a U-boat. Let's say 60 of them make it out, right? It seems like a pretty calm area.
Mm-hmm.
These people are now left in Labrador, where there is nothing, no civilization, no anything, for like probably another, I would have to say 900 kilometers away from them, through pure dense wilderness and nothingness. What do you believe actually, like, how long do you think that they even lasted? Because
Yeah, like what happened?
because there's no way anyone came to pick them up. They were left here, like, because at that point they were
in like a barren
send
wasteland.
another like U-boat in after them. No, like they would have been left there. Like their radios probably wouldn't even have been able to contact anyone.
And yeah, of course, even if they did, is is Nazi Germany really going to send people deep into Canadian territory to retrieve 80 guys off a U-boat?
Yeah,
They were on meth. They were fine.
That's true. True.
I mean,
Yeah.
They probably just ate meth and survived off that. Like,
they'd have like a meth supply, just kind of
yes. Oh, thank God.
just like in the actual a supply hall, just sitting there. It's like, all right, boys, we have exactly 80 days worth of meth left. No, I'm
80
saying
days.
80 all I can
It's
say.
a lot of meth.
That's a
That is a huge amount. Between 80 guys, that's a lot of
between
men.
80 guys to last 80 days. That's a lot of meth. Like, considering they probably had a high consumption.
Yeah,
It's
so
buzzing.
assuming that they all went out, like, I can't imagine that many of them made it out, if any.
Yeah.
And, you know, if they did, I suppose they would have just, you know, integrated themselves into Canadian society and kind of just kept their heads down. That would have been the smart thing to do. But assuming that a lot of at least a majority of them perished in the elements, sheesh, I mean, we could probably find
You would've-
remains, right?
Yes, that's something else that I was thinking. Implying they did abandon their ship, there is a good chance that in the middle of Labrador right now, there could just be between 80 and 0 German corpses just sitting out in the woods. And because
Between 80 and 0.
yeah,
80 and 0.
I guess that's true wherever you go, really.
I mean, a polar bear I just had a good day, so.
True.
But like,
But, you would think you'd be able to find their gear, their bodies anyway, skeletons
you'd
at the
say
point.
that. But say that in the area where they got off, right, one side nowadays is quite developed, but the other side of the river, the side that is to the south, there is nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, between there and the southern coast of Quebec. Approximately, sheesh, I'm gonna have to say, that's almost the height of Newfoundland itself.
Every bit of 1,000 kilometers,
Yeah,
I'd say.
at least 1,000 kilometers south. So who knows how far they actually made it? If they started going in that direction and just started looking for civilization of some kind. Because I mean,
Yeah.
if I was like part of like the Nazi U-boat at the time, I think that at that point it would either be death or go to a Canadian town and become a prisoner of war, which at least you're gonna get food there.
Yeah,
Like,
and I mean, I suppose like there's a chance if they found themselves in a Canadian town, if they really played their cards right, they might not get caught. I mean, it's unlikely that all of them spoke English, and I guess with their accents and whatever, it would be pretty
probably
difficult.
still in
not to
German
find out.
military gear. Like,
Yeah, probably. But if they got really lucky, at least a couple of them probably could have been able to just keep their heads down and try to integrate themselves into society at least a little bit. But considering the sizes of the towns back then, I don't think it would have taken long for them to figure out, oh, this guy's a kraut and whatever the hell.
yeah, like, but either way, like, I can't even see a way that they could have made it to any town around
Yeah,
here.
Regardless of how well it would have gone for them if they found a town, the idea that they did is it's a long shot.
Oh, like, I'm going to personally say that there's a good chance that whatever ones that, if any of them did survive, and they started like walking in any direction at that time, I'm going to say that like you could like have a search party of 1,000 kilometers around that zone, and there's going to be a chance that you would just never find any of them.
True.
But picture if just like one day in the news you just heard that like dead German bodies found in the woods in Labrador. Like.
I highly doubt, though,
Honestly,
at
I
this
think
point, you would ever find any actually bodies.
Oh, surely.
Because, of
Probably
course,
decomposed by
a
now.
lot of their stuff would have been decomposed by now.
You see,
Their bodies,
a lot
probably
of it,
some of their equipment as well.
a lot of it would be, but that's the thing about Labrador. Other than
It's cold.
Yes, exactly. Other than in the 2 months of summer that they have, it is very cold. Like
So stuff's going to be more preserved.
exactly. There's a good chance stuff is going to be very well preserved. Actually, just in like implying that like a polar
However,
bear
though, it has
or-
been a lot of years. It's been almost it's almost been like 80 years now.
Yeah.
It has been a long time, and you probably wouldn't be able to find like flesh or anything. Maybe.
No, you're not. You'd find skeletons, I'm sure.
Oh, like you'd be able to find
Bones.
like bones and like like maybe like their actual like uniforms and stuff like that.
Helmets, guns. I think all that stuff would stay intact. I mean, that's mostly metal and plastic and whatever. So.
Another fun thought that I had while I was thinking with this is that there were a few Inuit communities around like this area who may or may not have known about the war at this time. So something I was thinking about, very unlikely that it actually happened. What would have happened if this Inuit community, who speaks pure Inuit, a language that isn't even close to connected to German, met up with these like 60 German guys in full uniforms with guns?
Probably.
Yeah. I don't see that going well for the natives.
I don't
No,
think so.
I don't.
But that means that there is a chance that like hidden in Labrador somewhere, there is just this like surviving population of like generation old like German like soldiers that like
Well,
because implying that they
the
did
idea that any of them survived. I would think that if they encountered them, assuming they didn't just outright kill them, once they realized that these Inuit probably weren't, or Inuit, whichever you said, weren't directly hostile toward them, maybe they could try to integrate themselves into their like way of life a little bit. Then they could learn how to live off the resources available in this land that they don't really know that much about, and even that would be better for them, I guess, assuming that it actually worked out. But if they just killed them all and took what they had and started trying to live there and form a little bit of a colony, there's no way they'd still be alive today, because presumably all of those were men.
Yeah, exactly.
It's true.
Now, my main thought is implying they did unspeakable things to some of the natives, that there is a chance that there is now like a second generation and possibly even a third, if they met a
That's
town,
true.
of these
Yeah, that's
half Inuit, half German people just like living in an Inuit community in Labrador.
This is
Sort of
going to sound
pin to
really,
light by
really
now.
bad. This is going to sound really, really bad, but out of all the options you just presented, Nick, that last one is definitely the most likely. I mean, if you were to look at what happened in, say, like, with the Slavic peoples, for example, at first they hailed the Germans as liberators from the Soviet Union, immediately just put them to work in the camps. And, I mean, obviously, these, native North Americans, they, obviously, they're not white, they're not of European descent, they are native North Americans. If they didn't hold anything back when it came to the Slavic peoples, as terrible as it is to say, I do not believe for a moment that if they had to encounter a Inuit civilization, I do not believe they would be any less.
Oh God,
any less.
They would destroy them.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
in any chance they could.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How high on meth do you think meth literally has the capability to lessen your empathy? That is literally one of the main things that meth does, is lower your empathy for other people. That's why they were that's one of the reasons why they were so brutal. It's because their literal empathy was like gone. Like, I'm pretty sure meth, one of the side effects is loss of empathy.
I am pretty sure I've read that somewhere. I haven't done very much reading on meth, obviously, but
I think I heard that somewhere.
I mean,
I looked up loss of empathy from meth, and the first thing that came up was get help with problematic substance abuse. Thanks, Canada.
Ethan, buddy, you got something to tell the Chatworks population?
Yes, I am high on meth right now.
All right, well,
all the time, constantly.
It's
how empathetic do you feel, Ethan?
Nothing.
Oh,
nothing as in you feel empathy.
I
or that
feel-
You don't
I don't feel anything right now.
Man, this
how
is the
empathetic
worst high ever.
Nothing.
Friggin', I only feel anything but pure hatred. Shut up, Google, thinking about my well-being and stuff. I want to know the side effects of meth.
Well, if Ethan looks up the side effects of methamphetamine,
I'm so
Yeah.
off the topic.
yeah, just like looking up the side effects of meth.
I'm being put on a list somewhere.
Definitely. Like this is honest to God, the last Chatworks stream.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, if like the Newfoundland government ever finds out about this, like, oh, they're popularizing the U-boat findings. All right, well, I think you know what time it is.
Chatworks was canceled.
Yeah, we're gonna get canceled by the government.
Again,
Guys, we're gonna get canceled every single podcast without fail.
That is the point.
Oh,
Yeah, we have to every single time.
by the way, I am willing to issue a challenge to basically anyone here who is willing to take it. I would like you to try to pronounce. On my screen, you can see some kind of national park reserve, right? I am circling it with my mouse. For anyone who would like to try to pronounce it, I would be...
Here, hover over it so I can see it.
Yeah.
I'll take you up on that.
Connie,
Alright, mouse away, because I can't really see the full thing.
Oh, there you go.
No.
Okay.
How do I full screen?
no,
this
no,
shit?
yeah, all right, well, yeah, just
Alright.
put your
A
little better.
Wapish.
Amazing start.
Listen. I give you an attempt. Akam Uapish.
You gotta hover your mouse over it so he's missing letters. You can see it a little better.
Yeah, hover- there we go.
Yeah, there you go. You see that, Zach?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Never mind. Oh, yeah, I missed like a K and everything.
Yeah, it's a kami, and you just said a com. You couldn't see the I.
Uh,
'Cause it's in
a
blue
kami
and it's under the water.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Akami
Akami
Apish. Oh, go ahead. That is the
Akami-
worst.
Akami Apishku Kakasuak Mi
Mealy?
Miali Mountains.
Mountains National Park Reserve. I think the part
Akami
that...
Wapashkis Kakaswak Mili. Yeah, I can't pronounce that.
Kami wapishku kakaswak mile.
My main part is, why is one of the words the power of you? Like, what? Like you can see that it actually has. It's actually the U is above it. It's not actually in the word.
It's uapishk to the exponent of u.
Pish to the exponent of you.
I think maybe it's just Google fucking up because I believe they have their own writing system.
Modern equations be like.
Wow, Adam.
Shut
that's
up.
so edgy and cool of you.
Thanks, man.
Says the guy who's so good at math.
That's so edgy and cool of you, Ethan.
I'm looking at other conspiracy, like true crime conspiracy theories. Like, do you guys know the story of Elisa Lam?
No, actually.
Oh, I've heard of that, but I don't remember exactly what it's about.
Once I start talking about it, you'll remember immediately. It's the girl. Do you remember the video of the girl like freaking out in an elevator?
Yes. And she,
Oh, yes!
Yes.
Yeah, in the water tower.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and she was found in a water tower.
yeah.
Basically, she completely vanished, and I don't know why it's on Women's Health magazine website, but yeah, basically this Canadian girl, was in Cecil Hotel, and what happened was basically she was caught on video camera, like the security cams, her just freaking out in an elevator, constantly going in and out of an elevator, like checking around the corner. Like, it looked like she was being followed, and that was basically when this story came out about her disappearance and eventual death being found in a water tower, everybody thought she was being followed. But there is actually no evidence at all about her being followed, right? It's just literally this one video of her freaking out in an elevator. And there's no other evidence. The only thing else that happened was her being found in an elevator, and then she had an autopsy, right? But there was nothing found in the autopsy either. There was no signs of her body being tampered with or any foul play at all, like no bruising, no... She was just found in a water tower with no explanation, and I'm pretty sure the water tower was really difficult to get into, and nobody knows why or how she got in there.
How long was she in there again, would you say?
I'm not sure. I'm trying to figure it out from this album.
That body was fairly decayed when they found her, was it not?
Yeah.
Like it was not a pretty sight, you know?
And also, I believe she started to decompose in the actual water tower because people
turned black.
Yeah, the water. People were complaining that the water was funny.
Yeah, I think that's how they found her. Was that they got complaints about the water system, and so they went to check it out, and bada bing, bada boom, dead lady.
Yeah, and I believe her clothes were found right next to the water tower.
So, wow.
Yeah.
Tough.
And I always found it super interesting.
I saw that video a long time ago. That used to creep the hell out of me when I was younger. Like just the way she kind of like moved in and out of the elevator, and she was like waving her hands around. It was so weird.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest theories, was that she was being followed and then murdered and then put into the water tower. But there's no evidence for that from the autopsy, according to my sources.
What if she was actually, like, you know, thrown in to the water tower? Like,
her autopsy would show signs of bruising and struggle.
Yeah.
True.
Unless she was under the influence of some sort of like drug, which could have explained her erratic behavior. She was.
Yeah, that is actually one of the theories on the website that I'm reading right now. Is basically she was abusing substances, and that's why her behavior was so odd in the elevator.
She thought she saw a ghost.
The theory is wrong because apparently her toxicology report didn't find any evidence of drugs or alcohol in the system.
Ooh.
Well, by that point, wouldn't it have all been like gone out because the body was so decomposed? Yeah, that too. But it was also like so decomposed. So wouldn't naturally it also be gone as well?
Well, they would have brought that up as a mitigating factor if they were not confident that they could find an accurate toxicology report based on the condition of that body. Like if they thought that all of it was not going to be there, like it was impossible to tell, they would have put that out as fact. Like, yes, the toxicology report came back clean, but considering the condition of the body and the time she was left in there, it is very unlikely that trace amounts of drugs would have been able to have been found anyway. But there was nothing like that. They fully went ahead with this toxicology report thinking that they were able to do a correct one, and they were like, yeah, we didn't find anything. So they would have known that practice would be ineffectual on a decomposed body. But at like that level of decomposition, but they went ahead with it anyway. So I think just based on that logic, it would have been possible for them to find drugs if it was there. Otherwise, they wouldn't have really done one. They would have been like, yeah, this is pointless.
A lot of one of the biggest theories is that she committed suicide, but it's very odd how she got into the tank in general.
And that doesn't explain the fact that the clothes were found outside.
Well, she could have taken off her clothes.
Yeah, she could have just took off her clothes.
Well, yeah, but why would you do that if you were going to if you were going to end your life that way? Why would you think about taking your clothes off first? That just doesn't seem like something.
Some people's minds are very odd.
According to this website, I don't know how accurate it is. It's
Hello?
What?
Ethan? Ethan's gone.
All right, well that's that theory.
Well, thanks for watching, everyone.
Ethan?
Oh, he disconnected and he's back.
I think. Hello, Ethan.
oh
wow, he's back.
This, according to this website, plausible explanation is that Lamb had a bipolar disorder. According to this website, I should look into this more. Bipolar disorder, but it says according to her autopsy, had only taken her prescribed stimulant medications, but neither of her stabilizers, led to a manic episode.
Oh.
suffers to experience hallucinations or psychosis. If Lam had a manic episode, it's possible that she thought someone was following her or perhaps causing her to hide in the water tank for safety. Which, psychosis...
After taking her clothes off.
I don't know. Psychosis does a lot of shit to people.
Yeah.
Like, psychosis literally is just pure on hallucinations, which can cause people to become, like, violent or irrational.
It makes sense. Like, a lot of people say that she was hallucinating or saw some kind of premonition in that elevator, and that's why she was, like, looking around and moving her hands around like she was really, like, seeing something insane that she couldn't do.
Basically, like, it looked like she was talking to someone, but that could have been a hallucination, right?
Possible maybe she went up in that water tower to try and hide. Of course, that doesn't really explain why she took the clothes off, but at this point, you would not be talking about an individual that was sane, like, at all.
Yeah.
Or maybe she didn't want to get her clothes wet or something.
Well, yeah, that too, yeah.
Yeah, that could be something that was going through her mind.
I tried to get to the toxology report, but the page is deleted now.
Dun, dun.
Actually, you know what? That brings up an interesting point. If going off of, what you said, Adam, but, the toxicology report, wouldn't they have found those medications in her system?
Medication? Oh, you mean if she was on something, like, hallucinogenic?
Oh, like her prescribed medication.
Oh.
Prescribed medications. Like, yeah, because they said that possible explanation was she was on her stimulants, but not her stabilizers. Wouldn't they have found the stimulants in her system when they did the toxicology report?
But that's what it says. According to her autopsy, had only taken her prescribed stimulant.
Oh, okay.
Never mind. I just... Yeah, deaf. All right.
Toxicology report lives on.
Yeah, this may have... Yeah, manic episode. But a lot of people think that isn't right because it's really hard to get to... How the hell would she get access to these water tanks, right?
Yeah. Like,
That's the biggest thing, is basically how the hell did she get onto the roof, for one, and then manage to open a water tank and get into it?
were the lids, like, are they meant to be removed via either a team or, like, through machinery or something like that?
Basically, like, she couldn't have gotten onto the roof anyway because only hotel staff can actually access the roof, you know,
Right.
because they need to get on the roof. But the only way that she could have gotten onto the roof, though, is through a fire escape, but that would just trigger alarms anyway.
And somebody would have found out, right? Yeah, pretty quick.
Yeah, so...
So, is it possible that somebody working in the hotel had a hand in her death?
That actually is very plausible.
Yeah, I mean, it would have given her access and would have had the knowledge and, I suppose, means to, like, put her in that tank. Or allow
Or she
her.
could have stolen some keys, too.
Oh, well, yeah.
I was thinking about that too, Ethan, but at the same time, that wouldn't make sense either, because I imagine that, you know, if a worker had their keys stolen, that would be like the first thing you would do is like tell your boss, like, you know, like, yeah, boss, my keys are gone. This is a serious problem. We need to have it checked out now.
Beyond that, did they find the keys on her person or within her clothing at all? And, you know, or anywhere? Like, did they find a set of keys anywhere that would have been along her path toward the roof? And if not, where could they have gone? Like, it's not like she could have returned them, right? Like, she went into that tank. So, you know, unless she just managed to throw them somewhere and completely... But, like, was there ever a set of keys reported missing around that time that nobody ever
Exactly.
found? Yeah,
No,
and then
so...
they've been able to connect that pretty damn quickly to, you know, that's how she got up there.
Another thing is that water tank, I believe, was like 10 feet tall.
Was it
and required a ladder to reach, but there were no ladders around when she died. Like when she was inside. So
Is there by any chance like another way of getting in? Like, I don't know, like some access point or anything
door?
for you to able to
Like
like a side door, I
you
guess.
could get into,
Which would
like,
make sense if it was a water tower.
I
But
guess you get into like the actual water pipes, but I don't believe those are big enough for a human to get through.
no, the lid on the tank wasn't also hinged apparently. So how the lid was closed if she got in on it by herself, like that people are skeptical if she got in by herself, then how was it closed because it's not hinged?
Yeah, that's...
So it would have had to been like someone would have had to either close it, and that hatch is the only way actually into the
water tank, yeah.
So then I guess either unless like the wind blew it over or something.
Alternatively, the wind maybe did push the actual like hatch itself over, but if it was like
No, it's not
latched down,
hatch.
then sorry, not hatch. But I
Hate.
guess like if it did blow it over, then maybe or either that or maybe like a worker came along, seen it was like not right and just didn't even bother looking in, just kind of shut it, thinking somebody forgot to do their job, maybe. Now, of course, that's going on a stretch, but
Yeah.
I feel like if somebody went to go check the water tank or like close it, they would notice like a woman floating inside of it.
Well, you gotta realize like a water tank is probably pitch black on the inside. Like to actually look down in the water, it probably looks pitch black. And to some person being paid like minimum wage, I don't know if they really care enough to.
yeah, they don't care.
Just
Let's face it, like
glance down and like be like, just like take a flashlight and like search you in or something.
Mm.
Like, I guess they could have closed it, but I honestly think that might have just been like the wind or something that like actually blew it back on top again.
Yeah, I just find it extremely odd how one, there's so many like steps that she would have had to do to actually get into the fucking water tank, right? That like there's so many obstacles that it doesn't seem like this one woman could have done it by herself, right? Because she had to get access to the roof without anybody knowing. She's had to like get up on top of the water tank without like the use of a ladder, and then she would have to get into the water tank by opening up the latch and then go in and close it herself.
Yeah,
that's very odd like way of events.
Yeah, I love those ones with people just like, man, okay, I hope somebody else knows something about this so that they can chime in with, a little bit more information about it than I have. But in the same, I think it was probably the same video that I learned about this this event with this woman in, I heard about a guy who, he went missing, like just, went absolutely crazy and took off and went missing. And I think maybe was found dead later, or maybe was never found at all. But he was, the last footage of him ever captured, he was in an airport, and then, just kind of chilling out. And then he's seen
and he ran away from the airport.
Sprinted out of the airport, and I'm pretty sure
I know this.
Took off into the nothingness. Just sprinted away as fast. No luggage, no bags, nothing. Just out of there. He ran as fast as he could. Does anybody know what the deal was with that one?
Well, I can look it up. What was his name?
God, I do
Yeah,
not
no,
know.
I don't remember his actual name. I believe that what ended up happening with that one is I believe they actually did end up finding his body, like kilometers into the woods. So like that it actually made it seem like he just kept running. And
Wow.
I believe in the same vein, like they did a biopsy and they checked out everything on him. I believe it was found that he
Lars Joachim Mittank. I don't know how the fuck you say that. Is a German man who disappeared. Disappeared on July 8th, 2014, near Varna Airport in Varna, Bulgaria. He was vacationing at the Golden Sands Resort, where he was involved in a fight and then subsequently unable to fly home with his friends for health reasons. What? Is that him who...
Yeah, he got in a fight with somebody, and I think it was a bar. They're like a couple days beforehand, and before he got on the plane, doctors basically just said like, we're not letting you go to this hospital until another couple days. Your friends can go on home, but you have to stay. You are not exactly well enough to walk on your own.
Huh.
And because of that, he came to the airport by himself, and with his luggage. And then that very same day when he was going to leave, well, not the same day, sorry, but it was a couple days after his friends left. But the day he went with his luggage, he ran out, like Adam said, he sprinted out, but he had no luggage with him, despite the fact he had 2 full bags with him.
That's so weird.
Yeah, I have this article by the Daily Mail, which is probably more reliable than what I was looking at before.
then also our vague memory.
Yeah, and also, yeah, it's better than vague memory, at least. Apparently, he has not been... Well, when has this article been released? May 2018.
Okay, so kind of recent. I don't believe that.
Yeah,
big
but
search parties.
I don't... Here, let me just look up Lars Mittank. Lars Mittank found. Wasn't Lars Mittank ever found? The last confirmed sighting of Lars Mittank until today. Nobody knows why he ran away. This is in July 2020. what he may have been afraid of, or why he left all his belongings at the airport and the doctor's office. Nobody knows whether Lars Mittank is alive. There is no body, no sighting, no nothing. Apparently, according to this 2020 article.
Creepy.
March 2021, still unfound. Traveling with his friends, ordinary summer vacation, things got weird fast. Spring. He is still missing, I believe.
Wow.
At least from March 2021.
That's just nuts to think about, though, because this was at an airport, and this happened after 9/11, right? So surely there would have been a lot of security cameras. How is it that, like, the only security camera footage we have seen is him walking in and then running out? Surely, with all the cameras in that airport, especially after the events of 9/11 when security really ramped up, surely there has to be some other footage of him in the airport.
There might well be, but I think that anything that was found there was like inconclusive as to exactly what he was running from or so afraid of. He kind of just there.
But there has to be a point where he starts running, though, right?
Yeah. Strange. I mean, it would be pretty. I don't know, like to see that moment on film the second he went from being somebody sane enough to obviously pack up luggage and go through airport proceedings.
Running for
Apparently,
his life.
according to the Daily Mail .co.uk, apparently Lars made a terrifying, panicked phone call to his mom from his hotel room after ordering her to cancel his bank cards and suggested he was being followed by people trying to kill him. So apparently he must have developed something.
What if he was right?
Maybe, I don't know, it could be.
I wonder what he was tied up in that he could have. I mean, of course, it's possible he was just tripping. But I wonder if he was tied up in anything, like had some kind of gang connection or worse, or whatever the hell that.
Or like he owed money to someone, like who knows? Like he said that he was in a fight at some point. So maybe maybe that fight actually has something to do with fucking the mob bosses fucking sending out their men after him.
Yeah, friggin' or whatever the hell.
And then they got into a fight with him, and then he wasn't able to go on his flight, and then he actually knew that they were following him, so he just started running away.
Yeah, it's pretty cracked.
Isn't there a type of mental disorder about thinking people are following you?
Yeah, something having to do with paranoia. I think I've heard of that.
Paranoid personality disorder. I don't want to make any fucking mental health fucking saying this he had this or that because I'm not a doctor.
Of course, but it's fine to speculate. I mean, just based on.
Yeah, I'm just saying I'm not a doctor. Don't take my word as fact or law or whatever.
Everybody in chat, we are not like medical professionals. We are like five guys on a podcast. We have no credentials whatsoever. So take everything we are saying.
Yeah, just as a disclaimer.
Load of salt.
Contrary to what Zach says, we are not affiliated with Five Guys.
Yes.
I don't.
I've never had Five Guys.
Me neither.
It's coming, boys. It's
oh yeah, we've got Nick on the Five Guys tirade all over again.
Oh, don't worry, it's coming.
And I just kill for a Taco Bell. We live in fucking.
No, it's awful because where we are, there's nothing, and we're hours away from any decent food. We have the classics. We have McDonald's, Subway, A&W, whatever.
I'm totally going to A&W after this. By the way, I'm starving.
That is actually a good idea. But
you want to go too?
Maybe.
Chatworks go to A&W?
Maybe. The
Chatworks go to A&W.
Fuck the conspiracy theories. Let's just do a fucking A&W
Well,
stream.
Let's do a mukbang, right?
A&W mukbang.
Let's do a fucking
that's a good idea.
A&W raid. There you go.
Let's do A&W at 12 a.m.
Oh, good idea. Good idea.
Yeah. Oh, so an interesting idea that I'd like to try is if we could ever get it to work would just be we have a stream and we all start playing Pokemon or emulators of any Pokemon game that we choose, and we all have to keep playing until one of us gets a shiny.
Whose idea was that? We were talking about this.
Yeah, I believe it was originally mine. I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe so. We were talking about this. I remember. Yeah. This is a good idea. Also, and this was something we were talking about long before we ever had a podcast. Ethan, weren't you saying you could start some kind of Nuzlocke or something like on an emulator on your computer or something like that, and stream it to us over Discord or whatever, and we could all kind of watch and just play along and stuff. Like, honestly, if we were to do something like that, that would be pretty fun too.
That'd be a good casual stream or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and
would.
we could all weigh in and like name the Pokemon that you catch and stuff. And yeah, I mean, I'd be all over that. That'd be a lot.
Oh, that'd be friggin' sick.
Oh,
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
Obviously, we do Gen 5. Clearly.
But well,
Come on.
Gen 5 probably for the simple reason I think
We could do Pokemon Randomizer.
If you could get that working,
Oh, that's so
would
easy. That is so
Is
easy.
it actually?
love to do
It is
that.
so easy. You just download a ROM, put it through the USPS or
Yeah.
not fucking USPS. Universal Pokemon Randomizer.
We gonna ship that off to
No,
Please,
fucking Universal
please,
Pokemon
Nintendo,
Randomizer.
randomize
God
these
damn it.
Pokemon for me.
Universal Pokemon Randomizer. I've had it for a while on my old computer. I don't know if I still have it anymore.
That's sick. No, you get that working, and that.
Oh, I have randomized so many games of Pokemon.
Could you imagine like basically like if you during the Nuzlocke, like if the encounter is like somebody like like one of our favorite Pokemon, like we get to name that one. That's a good idea.
Oh yeah.
Imagine the
Or
hype.
could you
of-
like Twitch plays Pokemon but with the four of us?
Yeah. Why not?
Boys, we have song
What?
tracks so hard.
Oh yeah.
Random Nuzlocke's are one of my favorite
Okay,
things.
I guess to get us back on topic, have you ever heard of a man named Milton William Cooper?
No.
No,
I have not.
My God, what a name!
That's a
Okay, so-
very nice name.
Basically, you basically think of this guy as like the forefather, the people like modern conspiracy theorists, right? And people like well, actually, I don't really want to say any names. Not obviously not anybody we know personally, but I don't want to say any names. But modern conspiracy theorists.
Right.
His whole shtick. Now, of course, I'm going to be saying supposedly and such a lot during this explanation because, of course, there's nothing actually confirmed about any of this. But one thing that is confirmed is that he did have a radio show where he would tell listeners about what I'm about to tell you now, granted in more detail. Allegedly, during his time serving in what I believe Vietnam was the war, during his time serving in Vietnam, he was in the Navy, and on the ship, he supposedly found documents stating that the U.S. government is working with aliens to establish a totalitarian global regime to kill half the population and turn the other half into slaves for the new world order. That typical stuff. I can't believe I just said typical stuff over that, but typical conspiracy theorist stuff. And originally, it's a giant rabbit hole that I don't really know how to put it in a little Chatworks video, but to put it lightly, some of the things he actually said came true. Like, one of the ones that really come to my mind was he said that there's going to be a major tragedy in the U.S. and the blame is going to be pinned on Osama bin Laden. That was like a year before 9/11. So that was one of the things that was like he got like spot on. And there's a couple other things that like he actually managed to get. So, but I mean, granted, a broken clock is right twice a day. So take what you will. And supposedly he was able to predict his own death. Now, of course, this is I guess the only way I can see is you'll see eventually. But supposedly where he lived, there was like a nice view over the city. Like he was a little bit away from the city because after his time in Vietnam, allegedly, well, he did get into a car crash, which unfortunately had him lose both of the lower part of his legs. So, of course, he was mostly bound to his house. And I'm pretty sure he only lost one leg. Yes, one leg. And allegedly, when he was in hospital recovering, some government agents came out and asked if he learned his lesson. Again, allegedly. I'm not making no claims, because obviously none of this has actually been documented, just as claims. And anyways, he lived up in like this beautiful area where people would come out all the time, especially teenagers and young adults. They would come out there, and sometimes they'd be a bit rowdy, and he'd come out in his truck, basically telling them, like get lost, right? And apparently he was also occasionally, and of course I've said apparently so many times now, but apparently he also shot at a couple teenagers at one point, and he also wasn't as paying his taxes allegedly, so that just kind of got the police going up to his door, basically saying, like, what's going on, right? So they put a warrant out for his arrest, and they went undercover as a pair of, rowdy teenagers to the cops, or a couple young adults, right? They were playing music from their car and all that, just trying to be as obnoxious as possible. And when he came out in his truck, he had, like, a feeling something was wrong. So the police gave chase back to his house. And now, allegedly, of course I'm going to say that once again, because this also was never documented, but allegedly, as he was walking back to his house, the police, obviously got out of their car and told him to get on the ground, where he then drawed his gun and fired at the police, where, of course, they fired back at him. And they killed him on his doorstep. And supposedly, a couple months before that, he told his audience that he believes he's being followed by somebody, and he believed that he was going to be shot and killed on his doorstep. Which, allegedly, of course.
Man, I hate that stuff. That scares the crap out of me.
Like people like being able to like predict like the actual
Their death?
Like their own.
Well, no, not just that. I mean, I think that's fairly fascinating. But this guy talking like he knows all this stuff with aliens is gonna happen, and the government is in on it, and they're like, "Oh, did you learn your lesson? You better keep your mouth shut." Oh, I don't like that.
Oh yeah.
I'm terrified of aliens.
Now, of course, take everything I just said with even more salt than everything you've been taking it with so far, because, as I said, none of this has ever been documented, and I mean, if you think about it, why exactly would you have top secret alien documents on a boat in Vietnam? It, just doesn't really add up there. But of course, take everything I just said with, like the world's worth of salt. So
Isn't one of the conspiracy theories that I hear the most? It's actually probably won't be the best because this is just gonna because I think it's like one of the most insane conspiracy theories, but I don't know if I want to perpetuate it.
Well, what do you mean perpetuated?
Like
spread it
more.
Well,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
Okay.
Because it's basically this thing where the government, like I always thought this was like a really crazy idea. I don't think it's real at all. But like basically the whole world wants to all the government just wants to decrease the human population by like 80%.
I've heard.
Have you not heard of that one?
No, I've never heard of this one.
I've never heard it specifically put in terms like that, but I've considered myself and heard a lot that things like, okay, how do we feel about saying the name of the virus? Is that like grounds for major?
Just
go on.
Just call it the virus, just to avoid.
Just call it the virus
that everybody on Earth knows about that is causing issues right now and for the past couple of years.
The C virus. There we go. Yeah, make it sound all fancy like.
Just call it like.
Honestly,
like
I'm just gonna call it the virus. Everybody on Earth knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So well, I don't know how major, but there have been theories that the virus was fabricated, and there's some
In a lab?
fairly interesting, created, man-made, because nothing else quite like it is really out there, and science just doesn't really get it all that well. So they tossed it out there, and
I'm gonna message the resident conspiracy theorist expert, my dad, and see if he can give me the name of it so I can look it up.
Yeah.
Let's fight initiated. Here we go.
Let's just interview my dad on stream.
There we go. All right. Ethan's dad on stream.
Chatworks episode 4 featuring Ethan's dad.
Featuring Sketch Diddy, featuring Sketch Diddy's dad.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Featuring Sketch Diddy Elder.
Elder.
Diddy.
I'm Sketch Diddy Jr.
Yeah.
Okay. So as Ethan gets that information, we'll come back to that now in a second. Have anyone here ever watched the movie The Conjuring?
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
Yes, I think.
Okay. To sum it up.
I've seen it like some of this.
If you haven't watched it, spoilers. It's been out for 7 years. No, 8.
Yeah.
You're too late to the party. Basically, it's about this family that moves into a house, and like their entire house and like life is thrown up into the air by spirits and demons that eventually end up possessing the mother, and underneath the house, the mother ends up trying to actually kill the child, and like in the end, it's like a heroic moment of it. It's like you got to fight the demon and stuff like that, and actually try to escape from that. Something I didn't realize until recently: The Conjuring is actually based on a true story.
I think I've heard about that. Yeah.
So basically, the people in there were actually named after the people in the real story.
I actually didn't.
But the real story is a little bit less heroic and with a nice ending compared to the movie. In the story, in the actual real life event, it goes that that they actually that the mother did end up actually killing the child, and that the mother did actually unspeakable things, and apparently their house was completely wrecked and destroyed when police actually arrived on the scene. Apparently, the names of the people were left as the same, and I don't know how many of them actually ended up surviving in the end. And at the time, these people were known around in their community. They were known to be like a warm, welcoming family and decent people. But they just completely their entire household was just rocked over a matter of weeks. They brought in church specialists and demonologists and stuff like that, and in the end just nothing helped them. But the rumors in the actual thing about how back in time of where how
My dad has responded. He is very excited.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get into this.
Yeah,
we'll get into that after.
The exact thing he said was, check out the Georgia Guidestones. So
Okay.
I will look up the Georgia Guidestones.
Your dad seems interesting. I kind of, I know you guys argue about it sometimes, but the whole conspiracy buff thing, I kind of dig that. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, it's okay when it's just their theories, but when he just thinks of it as real life, I'm just oh my god, please stop.
Game theory, not game fact.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna put that on my dad next time. Just be like, it's game theory, not game fact.
What the fuck are you talking about?
What?
Well, no, that's how he'd respond.
Yeah.
What the
Oh.
hell?
Go to your room.
Go to your room and die.
It's Dad, please.
Oh god.
The Georgia Guidestones have the most enigmatic monument in the U.S. Huge slabs of granite inscribed with directions for rebuilding civilization after the apocalypse. Only one man knows who created them, and he's not talking. Okay, what the fuck is this? I'm stumbling upon some.
You stumbled upon
Some-
something very interesting.
The Georgia
Ethan, as you looked at Nick, you want to finish your story real quick?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
basically,
yeah, I'll look it up.
that it was based out the facts in the movie were actually completely true of that the actual that years prior there was a tree in the backyard where one woman had gone out and hung herself in front, I believe after killing her own child. And then slowly there have been this repeated events of mothers killing one of their child, whether it be their youngest, oldest, middle, whatever. But it had happened at least 3 times in the exact same house before that. I think now the house has actually been demolished, and is now just left as an open field because they just didn't want anyone else moving into the house after all the previous events that had actually happened there. Because back in the 1800s something like that, it was a big deal, but it wasn't that big of of a thing. Most people just didn't really care about a small community about where some mother just killed her child, whatever. There was enough lead in the paint to have that happen every once in a while. But when it actually happened in I believe it was the 1950s was the one that the movie was based on. they obviously started to question it, and it resulted in the events in the movie basically playing out in real life.
Shit.
Yeah, no, it's a completely fucked thing, and they couldn't.
Nuts though.
Oh, they couldn't find any reason of why the mother just completely went insane.
Yeah, that's honestly.
So this is actually a interesting question, and you don't have to share your opinions on it if you don't really want to. What are actually your thoughts on if demons, spirits, and stuff like that are actually real?
Oh, that's a good question.
Now, maybe not to the extent of that they can actually possess a human being or something, but the dead actually do walk among us, but they just can't actually do anything, or that they can some of these events actually have
Nick,
the results.
I actually have a story about that.
All right.
I actually have a story about that. So there, God, I think it was I know it was months ago. This was back wintertime. I just got out of the shower, right? And
I think I'm
anyways,
about this.
yeah, I told you. I think I did. And I was looking, because basically, in my apartment, the closet next to the bathroom is right across from one of the bedrooms. And now the bedroom light was off, right? And to turn it off, you flick the light switch down, right? Mm-hmm. Keep that in mind. So I was I was at the closet, I was trying to find something to dry my hair with, and I heard a loud click behind me. I look behind me, and the bedroom light is on. The light switch flicked up. So I goes there, so I looks in to see if my family's in there. I don't see anybody. So then I walked into the living room, and I was mother, were you in the room just then? And they both looked at me like I had 5 A's. They're like, no, we've been out here in the living room. So if anybody has any explanation for that, by all means, I'm all ears.
I don't like it. Don't like it.
Nope. No, sir.
There was this one time where it wasn't anything supernatural. It was just super weird. Where basically, this is when I was younger. I was maybe 10, 12. I bought a new game from EB Games, and basically, I was just sitting in the car, and I was just shaking it up and down in its bag, and there was no way for it to get out of the bag because it was a smaller bag, and it was a full size game, in its case. So I was shaking it up and down, and it just fell through the bag, but there was no hole in the bag.
It just went through it.
It was the most weirdest thing looking back on it, because I had a couple people witness it too. But the thing is, nobody was what happened? They were just oh, that's weird, and they didn't they didn't even notice, they didn't even think about how weird it was that I did. Literally, my cousin was there, and he literally was yeah, it did fall through the bag, didn't it? That's weird. And then he just kind of went on, and I was just fascinated. I was just what the fuck happened? Because there's no way it could have slipped out through the top of the bag, because my fist was there, and it was knocking it back into the bag, and it literally fell through the bag. And I looked if there was any hole in it. There's no hole in the bag, and I put it directly back in the bag, and it was fine.
That's weird.
It was really fucking weird, and that is one of the most stark memories from when I was younger too, because I just remember being what happened?
That's crap. For me, that's less ghost stuff and more and this is equally kind of fucked in my opinion.
Simulation stuff?
Glitch in the Matrix shit.
Yeah.
That, we could do a whole podcast on that. That stuff is insane to me. Actually, I'll bring this one up now. This is one that Garrett told me about. And of course, it was a Reddit story, and I've read it myself. And, so take it with a grain of salt. All of it could be completely fake. But just kind of thinking about something like that, this one was interesting. And I don't know if I've talked to you guys or he's talked to you guys about this one before, but I'll elaborate. Basically, and this one's short and sweet, but has, an impact. So basically, there was this guy and his daughter, and they were, driving, and his younger daughter...
Yeah, I heard about this one.
Yeah, okay. And they were driving, they go to this intersection, and he, the red light, so he stopped there. And there's a guy, waiting to cross, and he looks to his daughter and he says, hey, look, now, when, just to try and blow her mind, he goes, hey, I bet this guy's gonna look at his phone, or, look at his phone, and then quickly put it in his pocket right before he, walks across. And, because, that was just something he had observed that people almost always do. and he just wanted to try and like blow his daughter's mind as if like she had he had like just seen the future, because just kind of a dad thing. But he was like, I bet the guy's gonna look at his phone right before he crosses the crosswalk, and the guy has takes his phone out of his pocket, or he had it in his hand, something like that already, and he was about to look down at it just as he was crossing, and then he kind of stops, and the guy looks right at this dad who's in the car. And he kind of just has this big grin on his face, and he looks at him, like points to him, almost as if like, "Gotcha," ha ha ha, gotcha. And then he, slips his phone back in his pocket and walks on. And he's kind of like, and of course the light turns green, so the dad goes on. But the guy is kind of chuckling and like pointing at the dad and looking at him and like, "Ha ha ha, oh, almost got me there, bud." The entire time, like he just maintains looking at them, and the dad was like actually dumbfounded. He just didn't know what to make of it, because the only explanation, and to reiterate, he said this to his daughter. They were however many meters away from this guy, and of course they had the radio on, the windows up, and he didn't say it all that loud. There was no way that the guy heard him. It's impossible. So, I don't know. It's that
Did
shit.
he read lips?
I don't think he was looking at them at the time.
Because he was already looking down at his phone. That means that he must have.
Or he was. Maybe it wasn't that he was already looking down at his phone, but he wasn't looking at them. Like that wasn't detailed in the story that he was already like watching them closely. Like he was just kind of standing around waiting to cross the street, and then he kind of takes his phone out and looks at it, and then just as he's about to do that, as he's crossing, he stops and just makes direct eye contact with this person in this car that he had never really even paid attention to before. And that shit is like so creepy to me. And people and also there's lots of stories about people like almost getting lost for a second in what feels like not a lot of time, and then they go back to where they were, and their parents are like terrified. "Where were you? You've been gone for like hours," or whatever the hell, Weird shit like that.
I have a story along. This brings it more back to, I guess, spirit type stuff. I think.
I have not yet answered your question about demons and then ghosts, whether or not they exist. Well, yeah.
Yeah. So I can remember. I believe it was 2 summers ago now, probably back in 2018. Time doesn't really matter. I can remember. I think it was around 11:30 p.m. But I was going out for just a quick walk on my block. It was a nice night. I decided to go out and around. I had walked for about 20 minutes around this time. The walk on my block is only about a 30-minute walk. And I can remember that as I was walking along, up the sidewalk, in one of the lights, I saw a dark shadow walking. And I was like, okay, well, this is another guy out walking. A bit creepy, because it's the middle of the night, but whatever, it's just another dude out walking. And I can remember, I could see him walking towards me. But then I started to look more closely at his actual posture. He was moving towards me, but his legs and feet had him pointing in the opposite direction. So he's moving towards me, but he should have been walking in the opposite direction. I wrote it off as just like darkness and whatever. And I can remember I looked away and I was like looking. I looked down on my phone or something, and I looked back up and he was gone. Okay, cool. Must have went to a house or something. I then hear a cough. The man is now about 20 feet behind me, still walking in that direction.
That's
and I didn't take note if he was still in his almost moonwalking phase, but like
the Phantom Moonwalker.
The fucking Phantom Moonwalker. I can remember that. And after I saw him behind me, I can remember I just fucking sped walk my ass the entire way home. That was fucked.
I kind of like
passed you while you were looking at your phone.
I don't think so. But the thing is, I checked my phone.
There's no way
I checked my phone for the time, and then I looked back up. I was looking at my phone for maybe 5 seconds. Well, this man was probably 2 light posts away from me.
You just fucking booked it as soon as you looked down your phone.
So as long as he didn't just book it.
That's correct. I don't like that. Honestly, and it's weird that you guys have like creepy stories like that, because honestly, I'm racking my brain. I don't think I do. Like, I don't think weird, like odd things have happened to me. Sure, but there's nothing that's screaming out to me right now that actually just like like unexplainable, like completely dumbfounded. Like I have no fucking idea.
Actually, that brings up another thing that happened to me when I was down grandmother's.
Yeah, what's that?
So this happened now. It should be noted that in grandmother's bathroom there is a vent which leads outside. So obviously if it's windy, then maybe some air could come down through, right?
Yeah.
But it was this was not a windy day. I just want to clarify that right now the way. Like yes, there was a vent. No, it was not a windy day. It was like one of those it was like a dry winter day, right? Like no wind, no nothing, just cold. So me and grandmother was sitting there, and the way her house, her apartment was positioned. The chair I always sits in whenever I get on my laptop and the like is I can see right across the living room, up the hall, and I can see the bathroom door, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the only one who lives in that apartment is grandmother. And of course, I spend a lot of my time down there. So it's only the two of us, right? Grandmother was sitting on the couch, watching TV and whatever, just as everything was going. And all of a sudden, something told me, I don't know what it was, something just told me, look forward. So I take my head away from the laptop, and I look forward towards the bathroom, and I just see the door, because she always leaves the door, wide open. It just slams shut, with a bang and everything.
Could have been.
Grandmother jumped the couch, she didn't know what was going on.
Was it windy that day?
No, it was not windy, it was, dead air.
Yeah, because, changes in air pressure and stuff can do that. That happens in my house all the time.
That happens to me, too.
3 doors on the main floor that happens to, and I hate it. The kitchen, there are 2 kitchen doors, and there are French doors into the living room, and all the time they just, boom, slam shut out of nowhere. I really, really don't like it.
Those, when Nick was talking about his story about, the moonwalking demon, basically, that reminded me of a joke that Markiplier made in one of his videos about how we should just, graffiti, on, if somebody's walking in the woods, just graffiti a tree with hold shift to run.
Oh,
and keyboard controls like that for horror games. That would be awesome. Just you randomly see a sign picketed in the forest that said press F to use your flashlight or something.
I would actually it'd be I'd kind of chuckle, but I think I'd actually lose my shit at that. Am I in a horror game? What the fuck?
I want to do that so bad. Just fucking spray paint a tree. Just hold shift to run.
I can't believe I didn't mention this before. When I can't believe I just glossed over this. I just said that there's nothing that's ever happened to me that was weird or unexplainable. But guys, Tristan's copy of Pokemon Soul Silver. You all know the story behind that, right?
Yes.
Right. So,
Tristan is one of our friends, by the way.
Yeah. So basically what happened there was Tristan let me borrow his copy of Pokemon Soul Silver, just a little DS game. And I was like, okay, cool, thanks. And then we were, still hanging out. We were messing around that day. I had it in my pocket, my front pants pocket. And at one point, we got up on his shed. We climbed up, you got up on the fence and climbed up onto his shed. And we were just kind of messing around there. And I scooted over a bit, and the game slid out of my pants pocket and slid down the tiles of the roof and fell off. And now that basically, his fence connects to his shed on the back. You guys have seen that, right? Mm-hmm. And it leaves about maybe a 2-foot space between the back wall of the shed and the fence. So a little space. And then beyond the shed is of course the next door neighbor's yard. So it kind of just slid off there. There was no momentum. I didn't huck it down. It just kind of rolled out of my pocket and just fell. And I was like, okay, no big deal. We'll get down and look for it. Sorry, man. So we jumped down, and I'm trying not to exaggerate, but we looked everywhere. We looked everywhere that I could possibly. I didn't actually see it hit the ground. I just watched it slide off. I saw its trajectory, and I knew approximately. I could have reasoned where it was going to land. We looked everywhere. I looked up and down that fence, in between the little, how it's kind of oscillating planks, one after the other, and they're kind of one further back than the other, and then it'll be reversed, kind of in a zigzag pattern almost if you're looking at it from above for that. Yeah. Right, so I looked in between all those, rooting around, tearing out blades of grass, looking everywhere, reached in under the shed, got down, squat right down and looked, shined a light. I must have. I know I did. We looked everywhere, even into even into the next door neighbor's yard, even though I don't really know how it could have gone. I mean, yeah, it probably could have gone that far, but we looked all around there, and I couldn't find it, could not see it. And, it's not like it rolled very far. This was grass and gravel it probably landed on. And, of course, it's a small square thing. So it didn't bounce. It didn't roll. It could not be found. Tris and I looked everywhere. We looked for quite a long time. And to this day, never been able to find it. Never been able to find it. Just recently, actually, we did a little bit of pawning. And we were able to, I purchased him a new one for a pretty decent price at the end of it. Had to give up 9 games for it, but,
There was have you guys ever experienced? Have you ever experienced like just a very short lapse of your memory?
Yeah.
Like
I get that pretty much all the time.
But like immediately as soon as it happens.
The biggest thing for me,
I think I've told you about it the time that it happened to me. Basically, I was getting ready for school in the morning, right? And my dad, I'm pretty sure I told you this. Basically, I was getting ready for school in the morning, and I needed to get my house key. So my dad handed me my house key, and then I put it in my backpack. I guess I was tired or something, because I immediately forgot it happened. Literally, I was like, oh yeah, and time to go get my key now. And I looked everywhere for it around the house, saying, where is my key? I even told my dad, where's the key? I can't find my house key. And he said, I just gave it to you. And I was like, no, you didn't. I literally did not believe him that he gave me the key. And it was just an immediate lapse of judgment after he gave me the key. Not judgment, an immediate lapse of memory. And I still don't understand it, because to me, it never happened. In my brain, it never happened.
Wow. Yeah, that is creepy. Well, not really creepy, I guess, but just odd. I was going to bring up, and I guess I know what you mean here, that was definitely a more extreme example. I was going to bring up that, ever since I was a child, when I was playing a game, like Pokemon or whatever the hell, I would save, and then not immediately just gone. Did I save? I wanted to save. I don't know if I saved. And then
that happens to me, too.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty normal thing. I think a lot of people do that. But it's funny that you could just do something and see it happen, and then just not even, as soon as it happens, it's gone from your memory, and you're like, just to be safe, I'm going to say it again, Yeah. And then this time, of course, you actually know to concentrate on it.
Yeah, this is just
mine was just weird. It's to my mind, it just didn't happen. I literally took the keys from his hand and put it into my bag, and then forgot it ever happened.
Yeah,
and I didn't faint or anything.
Like that before, because I've curbed it, as I got older, but I used to be pretty absent-minded. My mom would be on my case about that all the time. So I'm sure I've done stuff like that before as well. To this day, I can walk into a room and not know why I'm there. So, but I think generally speaking, that sort of thing is pretty normal. Except that instance that you were talking about, that's pretty extreme. That's
yeah, because I literally, my dad was like, I just gave you the key, and I was literally fighting back with him, being like, no, you did not, and he was just like, I just gave you the key. And we actually both went looking for it.
What was your reaction when you looked in your bag and it was obviously right there where he said?
I was just like, oh, you did give it to me.
Yeah, and then you thought about it.
Yeah, he was just like, I don't remember that. I was literally just saying I don't remember you giving me the key.
Strange.
But it must have happened.
Yeah, he must have gave you the key. Unless you had it left in there from a day prior, and your dad was hallucinating, but.
Because that was just literally deleted from my brain, and I didn't even notice it.
Yeah. For me,
which is the most fucked part that I didn't even notice. I forgot it.
Yeah, that is really strange.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I am quite curious. I'm gonna bring it back to a topic I mentioned before, because I don't know if anyone actually answered the question about personally, do you actually believe in demons, spirits, all the whatnot?
No.
Oh man,
100%.
You don't? Wow.
Indifferent. If it were up to me personally, I think the only way I would actually be able to know 100% sure is if now, of course, obviously, but if I were to actually see one, then of course, obviously, yes, 100%. But by that point, basically, if you ever come face to face with a demon, for example, at that point you've already known you've screwed up somewhere. Right? So, yeah, I guess my answer would be I'll never outright say no. So I guess I'm just indifferent because
me too.
That
I don't
switch, I don't know how to explain that.
I
don't believe anything that can't be proved.
What do you say?
I don't believe anything that can't be proved.
Oh, dude, not me.
No.
Like, I wouldn't want to say, like, try to make out like I'm gullible or whatever, but it's just it's the same way I feel about things like Bigfoot, for instance, and hell, even alien sightings, right? There's just so many of the exact same stories and cases, and in the case of ghosts and stuff, places on Earth that are haunted, and people will talk about feeling a cold thing on their shoulder, whatever. Like, there's so much of it, and of course, it could all just be like folktale and people trying to get each other going and going off of other stories.
Or mass hysteria.
Yeah, sure, but there are even shows about going to haunted places and stuff like that. Like, there's so many stories out there. Like, how can it all be people just bullshitting? Like, even if it can't be proven, there are absolutely...
I don't even think it's people bullshitting. I just think it's things that people can't explain, so they just use, like, these outs. Like, it must be a ghost, or it must be a demon, or an angel, or something.
And I get that. And, like, sure, there's things... Because
that's, like, the closest thing they can, like, relate it to, right? But there has to be some way to explain it.
Okay, Ethan, you mentioned something here. I'll dig into your brain a little bit. So, because there are some things, like, for example, like, we can bring it back to the lady who got into the actual the water tower earlier. So, if something can't be explained via, like, science, mathematics, and, like, general ideas of, like, things that are possible, then Ethan, what do you actually think that happened?
It could...
Because we know that happened. She died.
It happened, but you can't explain it. But the thing is, the fact that she died isn't, undisputed. Yeah. So it's just like, she died in a mysterious way, but of course I believe she died because it's unrefutable, but, like, I don't believe that, like, a demon did it or something.
So, like, you're...
And to go off of this little idea... the light switch story I told you about, how would you explain that?
Could you say it again?
Okay, so basically, I was in the hallway, and, I was looking for, like, something to dry my hair off with, because I just got to shower, and behind me is one of the bedrooms, and the light was off, and when it's off, the light switch is flicked down. If it was flicked up and it was off, then, I could get that a little bit, but it was flicked down and the light was off, right? Mm-hmm. And when I had my back turned to it, and I was, like, in the closet pretty much, and now the closet, like, the distance between me and the light switch was, like, I'm bad with distances, we'll say 3 feet. Just go about that. Take that, it might be a little bit longer because distance issues, but, yeah, we'll say 3 feet between me and the light switch. And, as I was, grabbing something to dry my hair with, I heard a loud click behind me, and I turn around, and the light is on, and the light switch is completely up.
Yeah, that's fucked.
Yeah.
That alone is what makes me, like, like, if I could find some sort of, like, rational explanation to that, then by all means, then I would definitely be swayed more towards the I don't believe in it, but it's mostly that's just, like, I tried to think about it, like, I thought about it afterwards, and I was like, okay, maybe, like, something was going on inside or something, but, like, what inside of a light switch, because these light switches are heavy too, right? It's like, what inside of this light switch had enough, like, force to make it go from all the way down, all the way and off, to all the way and up? Like, it wasn't like
the only thing I could even think of there is that...
Power surge?
Well, would that make the switch go up?
No, it
possible.
Wouldn't. No. If a power surge happens...
And it was just that one room, by the way.
So
light switches are wholly mechanical. Like, force is applied to them. That's how we interact with the circuit.
So let's just say that, like, what ended up happening is that, like, some guy was down at your the actual, like,
power box.
The power box, like down at the bottom, and he flicked off the power to that room specifically because he could do that. But then that would mean that the switch would still be in the down position because it wouldn't switch back. So
turned on by itself.
Yeah.
Light switch turned on by itself. Standard light switches have electrical contact points that become wore out after use of repeated usage. This normally is the issue with lights turned on and off by themselves. The next possible would be spirits or gremlins.
There you go,
well,
gremlins.
Yep.
Got him.
Thanks,
There we
Cora.
go, boys. It's official.
I'm being
this
debunked
street is
by
consistent
Cora.
with gremlins.
Some random person named Cora has debunked Ethan.
No, Quora.com.
Oh!
Not a random person named Cora.
I thought it was just a random person named Cora.
Yeah, so
Electricians Reddit.
Bumped it or something like that, but man, I don't know.
Maybe
So,
it's the
for
same
me,
problem with me
answering-
though. Maybe it's the
go
same
ahead.
problem with me where it's like you had a random lapse in your memory.
No,
That's
like, it is. I sent a picture of it afterwards. Like, also, and just to make clear, I asked my mother and stepfather, like, were you people in the room? And they said no. And you know what, Ethan, I would think about lapses in judgment, but I vividly remember looking into the closet, both hands in the closet, and hearing the click. The light switch being flicked up, the little it makes when it flicked up.
And
I
can't really
vividly
think
remember that.
would happen without a physical thing touching it. Now, if the actual switch itself didn't move and the light turned on,
Yeah,
I mean,
then obviously, there was something going on, down electrical.
But for something to
no,
actually
it's mostly the fact that the
interact-
lights. It flicked up and made a loud clicking noise as it did so.
Yeah, that's fucked. I guess, for answering the question of whether or not I believe in ghosts and demons and spirits and whatever. Okay, demons are kind of a different thing. Isn't a demon really just a monster from hell and not necessarily connected to a person? Whereas a ghost is meant to be a spirit.
Okay. So the difference is a ghost is something that haunts a property or a house. A demon would be it is tied into religion and stuff like that. But
yeah,
it isn't that's what it is. But that could just be alone. You don't have to believe in the entirety of Christianity to believe in demons. But
yeah,
that basically you can just believe that there's something else. Because a ghost is something that actually haunts a property. A demon is something that haunts an object. And so for example, let's say that you.
It's not really that simple. The difference.
No. The other difference is that ghosts are just there to torture you. Well, a demon is there particularly for the soul of a human being.
But is a ghost always there to torture? Aren't ghosts sometimes just lost spirits, not necessarily
sometimes there are. It depends on because a ghost probably has a personality of the person it was. Of that,
right.
There's probably some ghosts that are probably pretty friendly dudes.
Pretty chill.
But there's probably some that are just
all
right, well, I'm already dead. Why not fuck up everyone else's life?
Yeah, that's true. I guess answering the question all goes back to a different question. Do you believe in the human soul? Do you believe that we are more than just biochemistry and an assortment of atoms that creates life?
I don't.
You don't think that there's anything more to us that we're just a sack of meat?
Yeah, honestly, there's nothing in our bodies to say that we are.
I can't say that I believe that a soul exists, but I can say that that I believe that that actual spirits and things that haunt that possess objects and things that just get into a human's mind do exist. I don't think that they are there for a soul or that they are there for you. I believe that they are there to torment.
Just as extra dimensional nightmare beings, just for the case, just for evil.
Yeah.
There is basically that there exists true uninfluenced completely objective evil. Because I mean, evil outside of that, evil just among humanity, apart from just senseless murder and stuff like that, it's kind of rare. As much as the world would consider Hitler evil, some of the people of Germany thought he was a hero. So evil is very rarely an objective thing. But when you hear demon stuff in movies and whatever, they talk about it as it is evil, pure evil, that's it. So to kind of think that is out there as a real entity that comes to this plane to harm us just for that reason, I don't know, man. That's fucked up.
Yeah.
What does it get out of that? I don't know. Spooky stuff like that. For me, I would be less likely to believe in that sort of thing, just dark entities of evil coming here to fuck with us. Then I would be quicker to believe that there are the human soul exists, and that in the process of ascending to whatever we become after death, that process can get fucked up, and you can have souls that are lost and left to wander the earth because of some people say they have unfinished business, or they have they can't die, or I don't know, or something like that. They're just not ready.
How would they be sent to Earth if they're wandering souls, though?
Well,
left on Earth is what I mean. Like they didn't go where they were meant to go. They were left here for some reason.
Yeah,
because of course they were, the idea being that they were human and then they died, and their souls, rather than ascending to, be it a higher plane of life, or if you believe in reincarnation, whatever, there was an error in that that process, and they stayed here for some reason, and now they're left to wander and kind of haunt and that's why so often you'll hear about ghosts like staying close to things that were connected to their old lives. That's why ghosts hunt properties and shit like that. After if somebody dies in a house or something like that, maybe that ghost will stay there because when they were alive, that was their house. So
ghost sounds like it's awesome. Just like no responsibility.
Being a ghost,
dead, you can go anywhere you want. You don't have to eat or sleep.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh.
So Ethan,
I don't know. Like I believe that.
Sorry, go ahead, Adam.
Oh no,
go ahead.
Oh well, I
was gonna say something else, but yeah, you keep going.
Right. Okay. I was just gonna say that regarding however many people there are so many ghost sightings out there. Even if a lot of it is like bullshit or can be explained through other means, there are a lot of people out there who will take it to their graves that the undead exist, like that they really truly saw something. Like a cold feeling on your body or on your shoulder. That's not like that hard to explain. I'm sure there are definitely explanations for that. But some people will see actual apparitions. They'll see a ghostly vision of a person, and of course nobody's going to outright believe them. But imagine if you saw that. Like what other conclusion could you possibly arrive at other than that? And especially if you're somebody who's neurotypical and healthy and not like literally going insane and seeing hallucinations. If you actually saw something like that, like how would you even be able to explain that other than I saw a fucking ghost?
Well, the thing is, like, that's what they're trying to explain it with. I feel like people seeing humans as hallucinations, it has to be one of the most common things.
Yeah,
right? Because, like, we try and see humans and everything. We try to see faces and everything. And I feel like if we were trying to hallucinate something, we would try and see a human, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. I get where you're coming from.
I'm trying to look up some stuff. Like, I have, like, 10 tabs open.
So I'm looking at something here that is quite interesting. Let me go back to it.
It says medicalnewstoday.com says hallucinations can be a sign of mental health illness, but they do not always mean a person is unwell. Hallucinations are, in fact, relatively common.
Okay.
So go ahead.
No, you go on.
Basically, well, I was just saying, like, so hallucinations are not, uncommon among people. So these people who are seeing ghosts and apparitions could be hallucinating. And it doesn't mean they are, gone, like, they have mental illness. It just means the brain just fucked up.
Yeah, I can get that.
That's why they aren't uncommon.
And of course now this is where you start thinking into like, okay, people telling stories and folktale and whatever, but there are a lot of reports of like you'll see the same sightings linked to the same locations by a variety of different people. Now of course that'll be all like, oh yes, I saw the ghost of this and that, But assuming at least some of those are true, what are the odds and of course you'll have thousands of stories of people seeing the same thing or experiencing very similar things in these areas, in these specific locations. And for all of those people, assuming that at least, like, not all of them are just bullshitting, what are the actual chances of somebody seeing the exact same hallucination in this exact same location and it having, like, the same effect on them?
Well, the thing is, like, once people, like, get the idea that this is what they should be feeling...
You mean, like, it's like placebo effect?
Yeah, it's placebo, or it's, like, kind of guided.
Yeah, like, they've been influenced. That's what they're expecting.
And there's kind of a reason why all of these old, like, these not hallucinations, these ghost sightings are found in, like, older houses, too, right?
Or what?
A lot of them are found in, like, old mansions and stuff like that. It could have something to do with the air quality or something because it's old, too. That could be influencing their brain.
Also, that's a good point as well.
Because a lot of old buildings are filled with lead and shit like that. That could, like, aid in these types of hallucinations or whatever. because all the type of hallucinations, like I'm looking at medical news today, like there's people have auditory hallucinations, visuals, and tactile hallucinations too.
Yeah, so you
as
could
well.
feel like ghostly presence on you,
and like somatic hallucinations as well. So like you could feel like the change in temperature, or like feel like something's touching you. Like there's all types of hallucinations, right? So I definitely don't believe that like ghosts and shit like this and like sightings and stuff are real.
I guess I can understand that there like a lot of these things, like a lot of them do actually have reasonable explanations, and some have things that could be reasonable explanations. There are just a few that are completely like absolutely nothing makes sense. I was just looking through a page here, and I recently found one that ties a little bit back into the very first thing about the U-boat up in Labrador. In the 1930s, there was a village that I simply cannot pronounce. There are 3 Ks and something else in there. That basically, and what it was, like, this was a contacted village. They lived up above what is like current day Nain, like far north, like far past the tree line. And in the 1930s, people went up there to try to actually find them and just check if they were okay. And what was found was the village was completely abandoned. Everything was gone. All that was found were 7 sled dogs that had died of starvation, a single gravestone, which when they dug it up, there was nobody inside the grave any longer, and all the houses with all the materials, which were still intact, everything set up, like it wasn't like thrown around, were still just left intact, doors locked. This was a village of, it was estimated at around 125 people. So all these people just straight up vanished. They didn't there were sled dogs left there, and one single gravestone which had nobody in it.
Well, a gravestone doesn't have to have a person in it.
No.
It can just be a monument.
But the thing is because it was. But the weird part of it was, this was a like a traditional gravestone that you've seen, like so and so died here, like the dates that they lived. That's not what the Inuit do with their dead. So this like European style gravestone was put there, and the Inuit were all gone.
So the Europeans got rid of them?
I would say, but this is far past the time of colonialism, and they were already Inuit tribes. They were just kind of around, and it was in it wasn't in a spot where anyone cared. It was just northern Labrador, where there was just snow, rock, and a few rivers. It didn't seem like there was anything. Now, it was noted that all of their boats were actually gone. But there was no sighting of, they asked a few other Inuit communities around, and they didn't say that they had seen anyone else, that there were no new people in a lot of the communities. So, and 100 and something, and 60-odd people don't just vanish. Clearly something happened to them. The most obvious option is they went somewhere, but why would they just up and leave their entire community?
A Leviathan.
Did you say a Leviathan?
Yes.
A Leviathan?
Yes, a Leviathan ate them.
Yeah, hey.
Ethan's theories here. Doesn't believe in
I don't believe in ghosts, but I believe in the Leviathan.
But I do believe in the Leviathan.
That's actually a brilliant segue. So, how do we feel about what do you guys think are the chances of us finding some kind of gigantic, beastly creature in the bottom of the ocean?
I mean, we don't know the entire ocean yet, so it's completely 100% possible.
Do we think that something like that could...
that would be so sick. Just a gigantic, community-sized, monster at the bottom of the ocean.
I think it got disproven, a little while, or, some time ago, but the bloop, if you guys are familiar with that, was one of my favorite stories. You've not heard of the bloop?
No, I'm looking it up right now.
Okay, well...
Put it on screen now.
And then Julia was another one.
Yeah, actually, I don't know about that one, Zach, but basically, Ethan, the bloop was, I believe, the loudest oceanic noise ever recorded, in history. And for the longest time, they had no sweet clue, like, what it was. What the hell caused it. They picked it up on their sonars and whatever, and just this bloop, like a really, really loud noise from thousands of miles away. It reached so far across the ocean and was picked up by so many different stations. And they just didn't know what it was. And so, of course, there were theories like, it could be similar to a whale call, but of a much, much larger creature. And so then there were theories of just this giant beast, like, lurking in the depths. Anyway, I think it got chalked up to, like, maybe a bomb testing or, something like that. Basically, it was man-made, just like a human thing. But, that was, like, before they were able to pin down what the cause was, that was, like, one of my favorite.
And apparently, according to oceanservice.noaa.gov, which is good, because .govs are good source of information, the bloop was a sound of an ice quake, an iceberg cracking and breaking away from an Antarctic glacier.
No, you're right. I remember now. Yeah, that's what they said it was, and you said that the bomb testing and human-made stuff, that was just a theory, right? Yeah, it was ice quake. That sounds right.
Yeah. With global warming, more and more ice quakes occur annually, breaking off glaciers and cracking and eventually melting into the ocean. So yeah.
Yeah, like
not much of a theory anymore.
Yeah, it's now just fact, I guess.
Now it's just sad global warming and stuff.
Yeah. Ooh, and it's not a huge, gigantic demon monster in the ocean. No, it's global warming.
So we've already established it doesn't
a
have
bigger beast.
A cool animal.
So I had actually watched a video on just like an idea of physically how large can living things be, because someone was wondering, is there actually a limit of how large any animal could be? And they came to the conclusion that a blue whale is about the largest that any mammal can get. Simply because of how mammals actually like the like it said that if anything much bigger than a blue whale were to exist in terms of a mammal. Huh?
Okay.
You cut it for a second.
Okay, you cut it there for a bit.
Yeah, but they can hear him on his end because he's recording.
Okay, yeah. So I'll repeat it just for you guys.
Yeah.
So what was the last thing you heard?
We heard like if anything was to get much bigger than a blue whale.
Okay.
And then
if anything was to get much bigger than a blue whale, what would end up happening is that its literal like veins and blood and the ability for it to take in oxygen, the lungs on the animal would have to be bigger than the animal itself in order for it to physically get enough oxygen. Or in the case of a whale, its actual gills. The thing would have to be completely gills.
You said that a whale has gills.
Okay, my bad. I meant mammal. I know they breathe air through their fucking snout on the top of their head.
Snout.
It's not a snout. It's a hole. It's a hole. It's whatever. Okay.
They breathe air through their hole.
It's the same function as a nose, except that actually cetaceans and they don't smell.
And a snout is also a nose. Okay. Okay. Yes.
A snout. Humans don't have snouts, but we do have noses.
Yes.
A dog has
a pin.
Anyway, enough about
Adam.
Lack of knowledge about biology.
Shut up. Okay. So basically, and like a mammal that is basically like a whale that is entirely blowholes, it isn't very functional. Like if it were to ever try to surface to get air, it would have to always be on the surface. And like you'd see something like that on a satellite image because it's not very hard to see like something that would always have to be on the surface. So it was said that mammals can't get much bigger. Though something that was commented on is that reptilians could get a lot bigger.
Okay.
So for example, say if one of the creatures from the dinosaur age, like any of them in particular, like any of the sea-dwelling ones, I don't know any of their names off the top of my head.
Like a mosasaurus.
I was just gonna say that. Mosasaurus.
Like Mosasaurus. If a Mosasaurus, if they did manage to end up surviving, and ended up like slowly growing over time, it said that reptilians could get a fair bit larger because of their different bodily structure, and because of the fact that they are like cold-blooded, they don't actually need as much oxygen in order to survive. So obviously, at a certain point, they would still max out, but I think it was said that it could be 5 times the size of a blue whale.
Wow.
So
Jesus.
And a blue whale is the biggest animal that has ever been discovered.
Yeah.
So nothing bigger than a blue whale as far as we know, has ever existed.
It
So,
really is.
So it is possible that the evolution of the Mosasaurus that just exists like lurking at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean could still be a thing. My thought is that so in order for this to exist and for them to be so big, that means their numbers would have to be quite low, obviously, because if not, like someone would have just seen this absolutely massive thing
Right.
Going into the ocean or like coming up for air at some point in history.
Yeah, it would. There's no way it would be able to be a whale or anything mammalian because we definitely see it at the surface.
Yeah, so it would have to be like some kind of reptilian or aquatic thing that literally doesn't need to come up for air at all. But then comes the thought. So, at the bottom of the ocean, there are there's very little life at all. Like down in the deep parts of the ocean. There's basically nothing.
Well, that's not true. There's actually a pretty significant variety of life, but none of it gets like that big.
And at a certain point, a lot of it stops being like even like that much of an interesting form of life, because a lot of it eventually starts just being like floating jellyfish type beings, of where they just min-max like the ability to survive because there's no
exactly. Like they have to get very, very resistant to water pressure, and that obviously takes away from like them being able to be complicated in other ways, like higher forms of life are.
And then there's the fact of a big animal. What is it going to eat down there? Like so.
Yeah, exactly.
So it would have to come up to the surface to eat, and then eventually, someone would have seen it. So
yeah, well, maybe not right to the surface, but at least enough in the shallow water that it could be encountered or probably washed up on the beach at some point or something like that.
Like you expect it to be like at least a dead one. Like as long as these things don't they're not like the Greenland shark. They live for like 300 years. But,
yeah, that's
like,
cool.
But
if there's anything down there that's gigantic, I would think it'd be like a wall of slime or something.
You think you just like a big ass wall of slime? Honestly, I think the biggest thing that I can think of that lives in the deep ocean would be like colossal squid.
Yeah.
I love squids.
I can see that. Like the colossal squid is one of the biggest things that actually exists like in the deep ocean. Yeah,
and this is why I think
said the wall of flesh also lives down there.
Yeah,
the wall of
possible
flesh.
That we just like we always think about a giant sea monster as some kind of like vaguely like intelligent like big dragon or giant whale or something like that, but it's possible that a massive marine creature would be something a lot more simple, just built for like filter feeding and stuff, just like a gigantic sponge basically.
Yeah, like it could be a gigantic sponge that just like absorbs everything in its path.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, there's a creature, an ancient species of ichthyosaur, which were actually it's an example of convergent evolution with fish. And convergent evolution is basically creatures that are not very closely related at all, evolving in similar ways to fit the same niches. So, for instance, ichthyosaurs were very, very fish-like. They built almost exactly like sharks. Fins, kind of like a long side-to-side tail, like dorsal fin, all that. Except that they were not fish, and they weren't mammals, they were actually reptiles, like more closely related to lizards. But they evolved almost exactly like fish because they were water-dwelling. That was like one of the most efficient ways in nature to, be adapted to water is to, take on a build similar to a fish. So they did. And the biggest species of them, of an ichthyosaur I've discovered, is the Shastasaurus, which is almost comparable to, might be almost, I don't think there's actually a complete fossil, but might be almost comparable to a blue whale in terms of size, or at least other species of whale. It was very, very, very large.
That's a sick-looking animal.
Yeah, it is very cool, a Shastasaurus. So, and actually I learned about this one through Garrett, but, so basically, like, had that not gone extinct, had that kind of evolutionary chain been uninterrupted, would it be possible that it would have kept growing larger and larger, because it was, in fact, a reptile?
Yeah. What was it? I think. Oh, we're almost out of time there now. It's almost 9 o'clock.
True. My goodness.
Yep,
Yes.
we should probably clue this up now.
We have actually.
Damn it. Bring up next.
We got too into your biology talk.
Oh, sorry.
We got too deep into the actual biology talk of the day.
Didn't we start this whole thing out with like Labrador Nazis?
Yes, we did.
Yes, that was the start of the
We
stream.
started this out with Labrador Nazis and have now ended up on
Whale.
And have now ended up on whales. I call that a productive stream.
That very informative stream.
Yeah. There's a lot of actual information being,
not just us being stupid.
No, it wasn't us just doing Jackbox this time.
Yeah, I cannot believe that we literally went into like conspiracy theories and natural history, like literally the next episode after all the like insanity of the Jackbox.
In fairness, I think there was a Terraria in there, which is a pretty good.
There was probably a
gap. So
yeah, but we're not talking about we're talking about casual streams, and we're talking about the regular podcast, not casual streams.
No, but like I think that the casual stream there, that was like a pretty comfortable fit between like reasonable and just absolute insanity. So it eased us into being.
Yeah. All right. Well,
anyway, guys,
the casual streams are just there to be fucking chaotic and fun.
Yeah.
Precisely.
You can join whenever you want. We might do Pokemon ones later.
Sweet. Oh yeah, dude. If
I have it all set up. I set it up during the stream.
Awesome.
While you guys were talking about Nazis, I was like, yeah, let me download the Pokemon randomizer.
And like,
that reminds me.
Nazis. Ethan's like, you know what, Pokemon.
I randomized the ROM while you were talking about that.
Which one? Pokemon like Black or White?
Pokemon Black.
Awesome.
Oh dude,
God.
yes.
Dude, if we encounter a Jumpluff or something like that, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Okay, well, we gotta finish up the stream there now.
Yes, thank you all for watching.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for sticking around for our about 2 hours of everything.
Garbage.
Most people learned something, and maybe go look into some of these stuff yourself. If you find any of it out, come back and tell us.
Yeah.
Anyways, you all have a great day. See ya
thanks for watching.
We'll see ya whenever. Thank you, Mr. Meatnap, for thanking us for the stream.
See ya next stream, whenever the fuck that is.
Whenever the hell we do this again. All right.
Probably
See ya.
Probably on the 10th.
See you, guys.